So if you haven't had a chance to get the app yet, again, we still have the $50 no-worry wager available. What a great time to get in the summer. Get yourself familiar with the app. The auto racing, horse racing, the golf,
women's softball,
the MMA. I mean, whatever you're interested in, check out the STN Sports app.
He got hit in the ribs. He got punched in the ribs, and he tried to practice with it, and it's just sore. He's fine.
Well, there you have it. Raider Nation, that was Pete Carroll today, Sunday, from the Raiders practice facility and training camp at their facility here in Henderson, talking about Jackson Powers Johnson, who was conspicuously dressed out for practice today, but then didn't really practice much except for a very brief appearance early on in practice. We were all wondering what was going on. He wasn't getting first-team reps or second-team reps or even third-team reps at right guard. But we got some clarification, as I suspected we would. Jackson Powers Johnson dealing with a little bit of a rib injury, tried to get after it early on in practice, didn't work out. So he watched from the sidelines as some backups took first-team reps and second-team reps. We'll get all into it. Just want to welcome everybody to Vegas Nation First and 10, your weekly and kind of daily go-to for Raider news and analysis, especially during training camp and the preseason. I'm Vinny Bonsignore. I cover the Raiders for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Also on the program is my good friend and colleague, Adam Hill. He covers the Raiders also for the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Vegas Nation and many other things here in Las Vegas. Before we get to it, I just want to remind everybody that all Vegas Nation podcasts, including First and 10, are brought to you by the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Station Casinos STN Sports. All right, Adam. So a little bit of a, I guess a sigh of relief maybe from Raider Nation. They were getting ready to go ballistic when we started tweeting out during practice that Jackson Powers Johnson was not getting any reps, and there were some other guys that were playing, guys that frankly nobody's really not necessarily ever heard of. Some second and third, or really third and fourth stringers. What's going on? Why is this happening? Pete Carroll needs to be fired. What are they not seeing? And everybody relax. As I suspected, especially as practice went on, Jackson Powers Johnson is dealing with a little bit of a rib injury. Tried to get through it, but didn't. And that explains why he wasn't practicing today.
Yeah, and at the same time, Alex Kappa kind of going through some rib injury as well. They don't feel that that's serious either. I know Pete Carroll mentioned the word crack. So little crack. I don't think there's any such thing as a little crack in the rib. I feel like they're all extremely serious and painful, but football players are football players, so it's a little different world out there. So both potential candidates to start at right guard dealing with some rib issues right now, and that's opened the door for some other guys to take some reps. But as Pete Carroll said, like there's no urgency to name a starting lineup even when the season starts. It's not like there's some rule in the NFL when you name a starting lineup, that's your starters the whole year. Like you don't have to be married to that. You can mix and match even during a game if you want to. So I think they probably would prefer to have a starting lineup and a unit that they're comfortable with, but there's no sense of urgency right now. They got plenty of time.
All right. So that begs the million-dollar question, quite honestly, though, Adam. And I did bring it up with Pete. I asked him straight out, is Jackson Powers Johnson showing you what he needs to be showing you? Because obviously they haven't made a decision for some reason, right? And so whether it's that both he and Alex Kappa are playing really well, or maybe neither of them have shown enough to declare themselves the starters. So Pete Carroll, he basically, I wouldn't say that he danced around the question, but he didn't really give any kind of a definitive answer.
It's tough.
What's that?
Tough, and he's physical.
Yeah, he's tough and he's physical.
Yeah.
So he's got that going for him. But then he mentioned about how many snaps he and Jordan Meredith got in the preseason game against the Seattle Seahawks, which they both played, I want to say, into the 60s, right? 60 reps. Yeah. I felt, if my math was correct, which was an extended period without question. Alex Kappa, obviously dealing with his injury, couldn't play, so he didn't really get a chance to show his progress or where he is in this competition. But I'll ask you because for whatever reason, and only Pete Carroll, Brennan Carroll, the offensive line coach, and John Spytek and Chip Kelly, only they have the real information or understanding or the real reasoning why Jackson Powers Johnson just isn't their solidified right guard right now. I'm going to ask you, why do you think that might be?
Or their solidified center. I mean, I still don't think that's completely off the table. And I did a couple days ago, but now the last couple days with Pete Carroll kind of answering a question the way he did on Friday and then answering some questions today, like there's still a lot he wants to see. And to me, I do feel like they probably know from most of the off season, most of the OTAs, the mini camp, all the work they did. They know what they have in Jackson Powers Johnson as a center. They identified some traits in Jordan Meredith that they think he might be better suited to play center, and that maybe their best lineup is with him on the field. And now they're giving him all the reps to say, all right, look, let's see if he can solidify this job. And if he can, then we can be comfortable with Jackson Powers Johnson at guard. And if he can't, maybe Jackson Powers Johnson goes back to center. But I think he's doing all the right things now, and that being Jordan Meredith, in order to potentially win that job. So I think the key to this is that they have identified traits in Jordan Meredith that they want on the field and they think are better suited at center than it is at guard. I think that's the precipice to all of this.
Okay. And I'm with you on that. Does that mean that it's exclusively at guard for Jordan Meredith? Because if you're trying to figure out, is he better suited at center, which that seems to be what their instincts are, rather than guard, it would seem to be that, to me anyway, that he would still be getting some reps at guard. He isn't, so that's kind of noticeable. But I guess my bigger question is, Jordan Meredith aside, why wouldn't the natural progression of that just simply be that Jackson Powers Johnson is one of the best 5 offensive linemen on his team, and therefore he should definitively be the starting right guard if their instincts are correct about Jordan Meredith? And why hasn't that happened?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's a lot of possibilities. I mean, one, if you just want to say why hasn't that happened, if we're going to take the approach, and this is just us, a lot of this is hypothetical or just us speculating just on being there and seeing what they're doing and talking to the coaches and people around the team. But if in their mind they said, all right, we believe Jackson Powers Johnson can be a starting center. We saw enough from him in the preseason, or excuse me, in the offseason. We saw enough of him during the games last year. He can be this guy. And if the question is, can Jordan Meredith be the starting center, and you're trying to figure that out, what if he can't? What if he doesn't show you? And again, I think he is showing them a lot at center. But what if it didn't work out? What if they were wrong about him translating at center? Now they've got to figure out who can play guard if they don't think Jordan Meredith can, right? I mean, that would be the logical next approach. Now, I don't think that's the case, because I think that they believe he's performing well at center and that they're going to go this way. But if they do have to move Jackson Powers Johnson back to center, you might want to find out who the next best guard is. It might be Jordan Meredith, which it probably is, but it could also be somebody else. So now you have to use this time to try to figure that out. I mean, this is based on if you want to go on, and I think all the fans have decided this based on the comments and our feedback, like Jackson Powers Johnson is the best guard and the best center on this team. That's what everybody has decided. Everybody's just said that's factually true. I don't think that's necessarily the case right now, but
obviously it's not.
That's what everybody. Well, like I'm saying, I don't think it's obvious. If that was the case, which it could be, now they're just trying all these different combinations because they're certain that he's good enough. And again, this isn't what I think, but if they were certain he's good enough, now they're just trying everybody else, and they've got to figure out everybody else. But to me, at every other position, they're trying to prepare for the season. They're not trying to experiment. So it's weird. But Pete Carroll's answer the other day about this led everyone to believe like it is still a very open competition at both positions. Both positions are very much open.
Yeah. Now he did. I'm just I have to go back and listen to the audio from Pete today, but he did compliment Jordan on his performance, right, from Thursday's game. He when I asked him about Jackson Powers Johnson, he kind of immediately went back to included Jordan in that and said that Jordan played well. It didn't feel like he went quite that far with Jackson Powers Johnson for whatever reason. I'm not trying to read anything into that necessarily, but it just feels different when it comes to Jackson Powers Johnson. I believe, but this is just me. I'm not Vince Lombardi, so I'm not going to even pretend that I am. I'll put it this way: I'd have a hard time believing that Jackson Powers Johnson isn't one of the best 5 offensive linemen on this team for that top group of 5. But I don't know that the Raiders truly believe that just yet.
I would agree. I don't think, watching as much as we watch, and they obviously see more, and they see more in the meeting rooms, which we don't see on the practice field and on game days, it would be very hard for me to believe he's not one of the 5 best offensive linemen on the team. It would be very tough to believe that. So then you start trying to figure out what is all this? Like what is going on? If he is one of the best 5, which we believe, maybe they don't, or maybe there's other things at play. Maybe they're trying to figure something else out. So I'm intrigued how this plays out. They do still have a month till their first game, so a lot can change. Close to a month. A lot can change. A lot of moving pieces for sure. And look, we saw both guys competing at guard, Alex Kappa and Jackson Powers Johnson, both hurt. Like there could be injuries between now and then that change up everything, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's going to, we'll see. They have the day off tomorrow. We'll see if Jackson Powers Johnson is back at practice on Tuesday, because it's kind of a big week for everybody, really.
Yeah.
I don't know to what extent Alex is going to be able to practice dealing with what he's dealing with. But it probably behooves Jackson Powers Johnson to be out there, especially on Thursday, during the joint practice against the San Francisco 49ers. And by the way, one of the reporters mentioned to Pete, that how can you gauge that when, when there won't be that much physicality. And man, I felt like Pete wanted to just run a tackling drill at that point, because he's like, it's got to be physical. And we've seen those, Adam. Yes, they're not tackling to the ground, but those practices are extremely physical.
Yeah, I mean, obviously those are two different terms. And when you hear they're not tackling, you're like, well, and how much physicality can there be? But there can be. There can be quite a bit. And look, it's a somewhat not surprising, that's the right word. We know they don't really practice often, but that they want to get some practice tackling. That was a big point of contention. It was something that Pete Carroll talked about, like they just hadn't done it, and that was one of the big issues going into that first game. So I would imagine that Pete Carroll would love to actually have live tackling in this point practice, but they're not going to do it.
No, absolutely not. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about somebody that I think Adam's going to be writing about later this week, and that is one Dylan Laube, the second-year running back from New Hampshire, who kind of went through a rough year last year, but it feels like he's, taking advantage, let's put it that way, of the fresh start. We'll get to that when we return.
This one's for the Vegas locals and Vegas locals only. STN Sports is the sports betting experience built for you. From the app to the 19 convenient locations across the valley to sign up, bet, and watch your favorite games. And with a massive betting menu and daily odds boost, there are tons of ways to get in the action. Sign up today.
New staff and just kind of a brand new team too, man. It was so fun to kind of get a new fresh start. And yeah, man, it's been a long year. And it's been a couple months since I actually went in like a live game, so it was definitely just a nice little relief on my end. So yeah, it was good.
And welcome back to Vegas Nation, 1st and 10, and you just heard from Dylan Laube, the Raiders' second-year running back from New Hampshire, who, quite honestly, if we're being blunt about the situation last year as a rookie, kind of found his way into the doghouse a little bit, and I don't know that he ever really truly got out of that. There were some issues holding on to the ball in preseason, in training camp. We remember that infamous day, Adam, last year in Costa Mesa, and then his only a carry that he had in his first regular season appearance ended up putting it on the ground, and he never really recovered from that. Got a little bit of play on special teams, but certainly didn't do much offensively. And you fast forward now to this training camp, and I think he was probably decidedly at the back of the line. And even talking to Pete Carroll today, he's like, I didn't really know much about him. Knew his name on the roster when he got here. Pete Carroll got here to Las Vegas, but slowly but surely, Dylan Laube is starting to raise notice about himself, not only on special teams, but as an offensive player as well. Played reasonably well against the Seahawks on Thursday. So it's a crowded running back room. We know that, Adam. What do you feel like is his best opportunity to make this football team?
Well, it's very clear. I mean, I think it's if the team feels he provides so much value on special teams that, let's just say, Sincere McCormick does not. Sincere McCormick, a guy who has played a little bit of special teams and is playing more right now to try to make sure he's on the roster. But Dylan Laube will have to show that he is so much more valuable on special teams than Sincere McCormick that it makes up for the talent difference in terms of, running back play. So that's where he is, really. I mean, that's the competition. I think we've seen, obviously, Ashton Jeanty as the starter. Potentially the same situation with Raheem Mostert, although I think they're pretty comfortable with him being the backup. We shall see. You got Zamir White, who's been fantastic this offseason, has impressed everybody. So, I mean, potentially you could challenge Raheem Mostert, who doesn't play special teams at all, hasn't since 2019, if the team just wants to go in that direction, or if you beat out Sincere McCormick as a special teams player. I mean, that's his path. And I think it's pretty clear. I think he knows that. And I think he's, we've seen him play all the special teams for sure. And he just talked about being more comfortable. And I think it's really good for him that it's a fresh start for everybody. It's a new offense, new head coach, new general manager, just a new regime completely. Because whatever happened last year, which obviously he had a very hard time transitioning from FCS to the NFL, whatever happened is gone. I mean, that entire administration is gone. So he's got the same chance as everybody else to kind of start from square one. I think he appreciates that.
Let me ask you this because based on my poking around, Chip Kelly and the Raiders staff really likes what they've seen from Zamir White. You mentioned it
Yeah.
a second ago. I think we both agree that he's having a fabulous training camp. And so let me ask you this, because I actually think that helps Dylan Laube's case because I think that if you feel like Raheem and Zamir can be interchangeable almost as that second running back. And in other words, what I'm talking about more than just during games, even they'll either one of them they feel can come in and spell Ashton Genty. But if Ashton Genty were to go down, for a game or two, they feel comfortable that a Raheem and a Zamir, one or the other, or maybe both, can then be that go-to back in an absence of Ashton Genty. So if they feel like they've got two guys that could provide that role as your second and third running back, let's just say, for that fourth running back, I would think that you're more looking for a change of pace guy, somebody that can catch the ball a little bit, and obviously what you just said, a guy that can play special teams. So Zamir White sort of recreating himself or putting himself back on the radar after a lost year. I think that actually helps Dylan Laube because his role could be a little bit more specialized in conjunction with the special teams that he plays.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's totally fair. If they believe that, I think they certainly. I mean, look, Samir has been great. Um, do they also feel that way about Mostert, or does Zamir White, him being there, does he win the number two job? And then at that point, do you have a 33-year-old running back as a third running back? Like, I don't know that you do. And then at that point, you might be able to get away with Dylan Laube and Sincere McCormick at the bottom of your roster, your depth chart at running back. So I think you're right, and I think his best chance is to beat out Sincere McCormick as a special teams player. I think there's no question about that. But there is that that side door that could potentially be open with a team that is very young in a lot of ways. They've got a little bit older this year, but there's hope for the future. And you look around and say, why would you have a 33-year-old running back as your third running back if Zamir White wins that number two job? So I think that starts to be where you kind of look at it too.
Here's I'm just going to throw this at you. Tell me what you think. I think it's coming out of training camp. It's going to be Ashton Genty, Zamir White, Raheem, and Dylan Laube. I think they're going to put Sincere McCormick on through waivers. They'll sign him back to the practice squad. And at some point in the season, especially if Zamir White proves to be that capable backup running back to Ashton Genty, maybe that's when you make the move where you just elevate for the rest of the season as Sincere McCormick, and that's where Raheem maybe gets shown the exit door. After everything gets solidified, and specifically that Zamir White continues to show them that he's going to be the capable backup running back.
Well, I think that also fits what Pete Carroll has talked about all along, and what we've said about his first year in Seattle with the 280 transactions. So, hey, we're you four on the team right now, but there's this really, really talented player on the practice squad that can take any of your jobs at any time. So that would kind of fit the Pete Carroll model, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, some practice notes. A very sloppy practice today. There's no getting around. A lot of penalties. Pete had to kind of pull him aside or pull him together and get after him a little bit. Just not a real crisp day at all. However, a fantastic catch. And when I say that Tommy Mellott got waylaid on this catch, he's going over the middle. It's in a red zone drill. Gets up high to go get it in a crowd. Makes a fantastic catch. Ran a great route. As he's coming down with it, I think it was Christopher Smith, number 29. Yes, Christopher Smith. From behind. Tommy Mellott never saw it coming, just waylaid him. Was on the ground for a second or two, maybe a little bit more than a second or two, then bounced back up and got right back after it. But if you're looking for progress, I thought Tommy Mellott's catch today, and he's been kind of flashing for me anyway, for about a week now, just getting more comfortable at wide receiver. Today was a catch in traffic. Last week he had a catch in traffic as well. So it's baby steps for him. And that will be a very interesting case study for me with Tommy Millott on whether or not he makes this roster. But a solid day and a solid effort for Tommy Millott, Adam.
Yeah, and he needs it. I mean, what you can't have is miscommunication on a punt return,
Yeah.
like you had it with Dylan Laube, and I think watching that back and having some conversations, I think that was on Tommy Millott. So,
Well, Dylan said yesterday it was on him because it was on his side of the field. Because I asked him
I know,
about that.
I know
Yeah,
what he said.
yeah.
I know what he
I
said.
felt it was on him because as I was watching it, it was heading toward him, and it looked like because it was an outfield call, right? It was a baseball call, but as Dylan said, it was really loud in there. So and all of a sudden, at the very last second, he just darts in front as if he's blocking, and I think Malott was completely shocked by that, and it led to what it led to. But I felt like it was Dylan's fault, and at least in his, he acknowledged that or owned up to it. But again, he might just be being a good teammate right there.
Yeah, that would be my guess. But yeah, I think look, you can't either way. They're both out there, and you can't
Yeah,
have it. And
right.
for both of them, I mean, you have to be sound on special teams, and that's both of their way to get on the roster.
No
So
doubt.
when that happens, it's kind of on both of them for being on the field. And maybe they don't use the two-man punt return in the season, but they were using it right now, and those things can't happen. And I think that's the growing pains. That's being a young player and switching positions and all those things. Like you're not calling punt returns with two-man return games as a quarterback in college. Like you're just not doing it. So
No, not at all.
that's a process.
Yeah. So some wrinkles to get ironed out, and that's what the preseason is for. All right, Adam. So tomorrow it's an off day for the Raiders. Then they're back at practice on Tuesday. We'll be back with everybody on Vegas Nation First and 10 after Tuesday's practice, and really the rest of the week throughout. The 49ers joint practice on Thursday, and then obviously the game on Saturday. What are you looking forward to seeing, especially when they get on the field against the 49ers?
Yeah, you want to see, crispness. You want to see, cutting down on the penalties. I know they're not tackling, but the run fits, the angle, that sort of thing. Like you can clean those up even if you're not tackling. So I think that's going to be the most important thing that you're looking for. And then who just stands out, who makes plays. That's kind of what you're always looking for in these situations. And I think the Raiders obviously have a lot of work to do after their first game. But I think we should point out one other thing. I thought it was really interesting. Pete Carroll's answer on Friday to the struggles of the first team run game.
Mm-hmm.
The first team offense in terms of running the ball, Ashton Jeanty 3 carries, -1 yards, and he said, "We're not calling our plays. We're just going to go out there and see if we can block it up, and not really worried about it right now. We're not gonna really show our hand."
I look back at that game and two things. The offense played 4 downs, right? I think it was four actual plays, and then they punted. If it was even that, might have been 3. But anyway, and I don't remember 89 Brock Bowers catching a pass, right? He didn't catch
Yeah.
a pass. If Brock Bowers isn't involved, it's not a real game to me. I'm just going to say that. So it was a very limited view of the offense, certainly on Thursday. But Pete Carroll did mention also on Friday that the starters are going to get a lot of time or more time.
Yep.
Saturday against San Francisco 49ers. Definitely looking forward to that, and we'll be right here to talk about it. By the way, a little bit of a tease on Tuesday when we do the podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about Jamal Adams and why I feel, and Adam's going to have his own thoughts about this. Why I feel the Raiders might have, found it's hard to call him a hidden gem because he's been all that
Yep.
in his career. But he seems to have bounced back pretty well physically and mentally
Yep.
from everything that he was dealing with. So they may have found that diamond in the rough over on the scrap heat, that turns out to be a pretty good move. But we're going to talk about that, Adam, on Tuesday. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the day off on Monday. We'll be back at it on Tuesday. I want to say thank you to everybody for all your support. The numbers have been terrific. We really thank you for that. Please keep hitting the like button and the subscribe button. Remember, VegasNation.com. It's your one-stop shop for all Raider news and analysis. It's inexpensive. It makes a great gift. It's a great investment if you're a Raiders fan. Just go to VegasNation.com for all the details on if you want to subscribe to that. Thanks for subscribing to First and 10 as well. Say thank you to Dom. Great job, Dom, over here producing the show, and also to the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Station Casinos STN Sports. Thank you so much for your support. Enjoy the day, and we'll check back with you guys on Tuesday.